Better jump into FYI. School Superintendent Gary DeLacy with us this morning, and we're talking about a little bit at the show. I guess start out with coronavirus. You talk about that. It seems like almost, if not every month, every other month. I guess we'll lead into, the topic people are talking about, and that's the judge's decision on masks. But first up, maybe get it back up. What's the situation like? Been in school now since, end of August, a few weeks now. What's the COVID situation here in the Clinton School District?
Well, a lot of the statistics that we tracked last year, we no longer do contact tracing and those kinds of things as dictated by the state. So really the only thing we've been tracking is the number of positive COVID cases among staff and students. We have very few with staff, but again, we have, by our records, at least 75% of our staff are fully vaccinated. Students, as of 2 days ago, we had 82 positive cases in the district from the beginning of the school year to basically in a 3.5 week period. Comparing that to last year, that is really high. We do have a number of COVID cases, but again, if you're using the Iowa Department of Public Health guidelines right now, we're not quarantining unless there's an outbreak. An outbreak is defined as having 2 or more positives within a household. So unless a student is showing symptoms and they had a sibling test positive, they still remain in school. So from that standpoint, we have more kids in school. It's challenging, though. It's kind of like operating in the blind a little bit because we don't have all the information. We don't know who's vaccinated. Obviously, we know that children under 12 are not vaccinated. We have that assumption. But when you're talking your 12 through 18-year-old students, we're kind of operating in the dark. And so a lot of times we'll hear, well, if we can show we're vaccinated, the problem is we can't get a handle on that in totality like we do with polio or with measles or all those kind of immunization shots that we require to be in school. We have a handle on that. We're really operating in the dark for as of right now.
Can the school do anything for those over 12 to mandate that they get vaccinated?
Well, we're strongly encouraging. Today, we're actually at the middle school offering a vaccination clinic. The sad part is as of yesterday afternoon, we only had 10 students signed up out of the middle school. And I know we've got a lot more students that are not vaccinated. And that's one way that if we could create herd immunity within the school population, that would certainly help us. But we do need to, if we're going to get this pandemic behind us, we're going to have to get vaccinated.
Has this impacted the in-person schooling yet so far this school year?
Staffing's been a little challenging, and it isn't that the quote-unquote staff is getting sick, but they have children that aren't vaccinated. If you have an elementary student and they're not and they go positive, well, then my staff member needs to stay home with that child. So then, and right now, our sub list is very short. It's hard when we have people not reporting to work because there just aren't able bodies on that sub list to come in. So to this point, we've been operating, but we've been stretched thin already, which is very concerning that we're in the first month of school and we're really being stretched.
Let's move into, the next obvious topic. Earlier this week, there's been some court battles over this, but basically the latest, I believe, a federal judge has basically told the state passed the rules or the law that the school district cannot have a mask mandate. I believe that's the way they kind of put it. So the Clinton School District couldn't make that mandate, kind of like they did last spring. But that's been at least put on hold for now. What's your interpretation? What's going to happen? Some schools jumped right on that and instituted mask rules for students right away. What's going to happen in the Clinton district?
Well, right now, the answer is I'm still researching. I've been pretty deliberate with this because it was a federal court ruling. So I do have our legal counsel reviewing that judge's decision, the rationale behind that decision. We're also looking at the time of the appeal process. We're also looking at things in terms of what are we compelled to do by the law. I guess one of the things that caught my attention is it mentions the American Disabilities Act is one of the reasons that the students' rights were being violated. So right now, basically we're dotting our I's and crossing our T's. I'm waiting for our legal counsel to make a recommendation to me, which I will pass to my school board members to take a look at. And then I am hopeful within a few days or no later than a week, we will make an announcment on how we're going to handle this.
Put a little extra twist on things, something you really hadn't planned on encountering when the school year started?
I was getting ready for the school board meeting Monday night, and my administrative assistant showed me, she goes, "Look at this." And so, late Monday afternoon, I was notified of it, but I really couldn't turn my attention to that. We had a board meeting that we were pretty much going right into. So, but I'll be honest, since after that board meeting, I have spent a lot of time talking to attorneys about the implications of this and what is the proper way that we can legally meet the mandate moving forward.
Ron says, what kind of, what issues, have the staff had issues? Have students have issues? Have you heard from either side about mask or no mask? Are they just moving forward with what it is?
I've had just a few informal discussions with some staff about how the year has been going, and just right now, masking is optional, and just like how many kids have been masking optionally, and usually the number that gets thrown out is between 5 and 10% of our kids are voluntarily masking. Right now, I would say the staff is a little bit higher than that. I think one of my premises to the staff and to the students will be is that this district will do what is legal, and once we get a legal opinion on this court ruling, then we will act accordingly, or that's going to be my recommendation to the school board.
On another topic, you can't drive by the construction site for the new high school because you got that road blocked off, but they see that and like many construction projects, it doesn't look like much is happening because you don't see anything above coming out of the ground, as you might say. But that may change soon. What's going on with that new high school construction, reconstruction, rebuilding project?
Well, actually, if you drive by right now, you will see a few things. One is these foundation pillars are being put into place, and I think there's supposed to be a total of 57 of them. And I want to say by this Monday, they will be completed with that if it doesn't rain, which I don't think it's rained in a month. So
we haven't had much rain lately.
So I'm assuming that'll stay on track. And then on the far east side of that lot right now, they've actually leveled it and put gravel down where the parking lot will be eventually. But they're going to use that as kind of a staging area because I believe by October 1st, we will start getting in materials for the walls, the steel, and things like that. So I do think in a few weeks you're going to start seeing some walls being put up and some things like that moving forward. So supply chain, you hear that all the time, that the supply chain is probably a driver right now in terms of how fast the project can go. Can we get in the materials that we need? I'll be honest, I've been very happy with Tricon. I've been in a number of construction meetings. They've been a very good support. They want to put up a quality building. They have come to the table with some really good ideas and some ideas that I think will help the district overall. So we're at this point pleased, but I think everybody's excited to actually see something coming out of the ground where, like you say, the first 2 months we've been basically in the ground, and you haven't seen a lot. I will say this: the soil and the actual bedrock have been challenging there. I mean, when they've had to drill down to get the sewer system in, it was to the point like, we wish we could use dynamite, but you're in a residential area, you can't use dynamite. But it was a very painstaking process to be able to chip away at that rock and get to the level that you needed to for some of that underground, which you're not going to see your sewer and things like that to be put into place.
Eric, can you talk a little bit about when this project was bid? The bids were over the budget. There's talk about, I think the term now is valued engineering, goes by different terms over the years, trying to trim some of the costs, do some things a little differently. Can those goals be met? It was a pretty hefty price tag.
Yeah. Well, we were targeting about $4 million for the value engineering. 800,000 came right off the top because we did have some alternate deducts. One of the examples is the parking lot around the high school would be blacktop versus concrete. So we did take some of those into place, but then we had this $3.2 million and that's what we talked about at the board meeting Monday night. It looks like we're pretty close to that 2 million mark right now of that 3.2. I'm pretty optimistic we're going to make it because we have still not factored in this phase 4, which was we were going to completely tear down the kitchen and redo it. And now we're going to keep the structure of the kitchen and basically just give it a facelift. I am optimistic that that's going to come in. Our architect talked Monday night between 1.2 and 1.4 million. If that hits the 1.2, well, that would actually hit our goal of 3.2 million that we would find in value engineering, plus that 800,000 in alternative deducts. So that would be $4 million. And then we have a process either through using 1% sales tax, going through the school budget review committee for new furniture, or using some additional 1% sales tax or fundraising to make up that 4.8 million. So I actually feel like we're in a good position right now financially. We did, one of the things was we did lock in, so we know that those prices for the most part are going to stay steady, and then we could figure out how we're going to meet that goal.
Has anybody talked to us, with some of these changes, you talk about the structure, getting the foundations in. The projects have only started. It's a 4-year project. As the contract talk, this is going to, this is early on, we're going to be behind. It doesn't matter because this is a long-term project. So there's no way to predict 4 years out now.
I wouldn't say so. We are still talking about that 3-story building being turned over to the district next November or December. So that's what we're working on right now. We are already doing a lot of our asbestos abatement in the 1919 building because a year from January, we would probably be looking at beginning demo of that building just to keep things moving. So right now we're on pace, and nobody is saying that, hey, I don't think we're going to get that 3-story academic building turned over to you by next November, December. That is still our goal. We're actually in the process of reviewing furniture bids and getting those timed so that the furniture comes in probably next November. So we have time to get that all installed and that. And like I said, it would probably be after Christmas. So it'd be January of 2023. We would make the transition over to the new building. So you're talking less than a year and a half. And really, that's where about 70% of your academics is going to happen, is in that building. So it's a lot closer than we think it is. And I think, like you say, once you start seeing the walls go up, it'll be probably a bigger aha moment to say, oh, it is happening.
People, then you get a few more spectators, maybe.
Yeah. You get some cranes lifting things and that, and it'll be like, okay, here we go.
It's a construction site then.
Yeah.
A week from today, you have the vision of the district presentation. What kind of things are you can you give us any hints? Give us a preview. You got your speech written?
I'm pretty close. We missed it last year because of the pandemic, so some of it will be getting people up to speed. I think one of the things we'll spend a lot of time. We'll be doing. I shouldn't say a lot of time. I'm going to actually have a number of people presenting with me. I'm going to have Wes Golden talk about the Portrait of a Graduate Initiative. I'm going to have Brian Kinney talk about the Computer Science Grant Initiative at Whittier Elementary. I'm going to have Rhea Wright talk about, she has gotten some grants that are really supporting homeless students, those kinds of things, things with social emotional learning, things that are really pretty hot button items coming out of the pandemic. And then I'm going to reemphasize some other things that the district is doing, and then obviously give a little bit of a report on where we are with the Clinton High School project and things like that. But you'll see probably 4 or 5 of us actually presenting, hitting some different, what I would call hot topic items of the district and where we're headed.
You mentioned that portion of the graduate. I understand the school's looking at maybe changing a little bit. I know that term has been, since you came, has kind of been tossed around out there. Is this going to be a big shift in what the district is doing? Is this going to change what they do in the classroom, graduation requirements? If they're not attending the division and hear Wes talk about it, what is the portrait of a graduate and how's that going to make a difference?
It has the potential to be a pretty big shift, and a lot of decisions will be made once that portrait of a graduate is put there and approved by the board, because then, okay, becomes the driving force. So one of the keys will be is, what does a Clinton High School graduate, what are they able to do skill-wise when they walk across the stage? So that's a lot different a conversation than saying, well, they passed 4 years of English, 3 years of math, 3 years of science. They got their credits and now they're going to graduate. This now really comes down to, what are they able to do? What are their employability skills? How can they, what is their level of creativity? What is their ability to work with others? What's their communication skills? What all the things that are probably going to be measured in the workplace in terms of their success. And then how do we measure that? And does that become more of a focal point towards graduating than saying, well, you got your 4 years of this and 3 years of this, and you got a total of this many credits. It could be a blend where you keep some of this yet and you infuse those skills into the classes and say, well, this is part of your grade now, is you're going to have to demonstrate your ability to communicate. You're going to have to demonstrate your ability to be able to work with others and have rubrics to do that. And that becomes part of your grade. And maybe you do still stay with credits, but it isn't just content mastery to say, hey, I was able to regurgitate what you taught me and that's it. What can you actually do with that information, and how can you, because that's what you're hearing from employers. You know, you can pull up information off the internet anymore. It isn't a matter of knowing it in your head. It's, what do you do with that information, and how do you become value added for my business, and developing that employee skill level. I mean, that's part of what I hope when people walk into the new high school, that they're going to say, you know, this doesn't really feel like a high school. This feels more like a workplace environment. That is my intent. I want people to feel like this doesn't feel like a typical high school, because I really feel that is the future, is that particularly at the high school level, we need to get kids ready with skills that they can be successful at the next level.
Can this, that's almost like it's a changing course. Can take a long time to implement, do you think?
Well, I feel education's been lagging behind the quote unquote workplace or real world for a long time. And that's been one of the things when I talk to people out in the business world, their frustration is the lack of skills with the students are coming up. Like they're not coming to work. They don't know how to communicate. They can't handle human conflict. These are skills that we need to be taught, you know, or at least got started in the schools, so that these kids have a base to work with to be successful once they graduate. So I do think it has the potential to really shift the way schools look. And like I said, my worry is that schools today still looks too much like when I was in school in 1967 as a kindergartner. And we need to evolve, and not just Clinton Community Schools, but the challenge for all schools. Let's evolve and get ourselves that we're doing a better job of modeling what's going on in the real world.
Very good, Doug. Gary, maybe give you a chance to early on before school start, maybe talk about shortage of workers, different openings. Still got a lot of openings.
We do. I tell you what,
I'll give you a chance for a one ad here.
Yeah, I would say that particularly if you're a parent out there and you would like a schedule similar to your child's, we have plenty of positions: bus drivers, paraeducators, food service. We are still missing 2 to 3 full-time teaching positions. So we would love to be able to fill all those positions. So if people are looking for a change and they would like an opportunity to have a schedule with their kids, which would probably mean no nights, no weekends, same vacation periods, please give us a look. Go on the website and apply.
You mentioned substitute teachers. They changed the rules on getting that sub certification. Are those still in effect, or did that expire with coronavirus?
That did expire, but you can still get the sub authorization, but there's more limits to it. Like, you just can't permanently stay in a classroom. It's a situation that you can be in one particular classroom no more than 10 out of 10 days a month, basically, is what they say. So if you have one of those, you'll tend to bop around a little bit. I'm going to tell you right now, we have work every day. So we can, if we have people with those kinds of credentials, we'd still be using you every day.
Easy to do, and this website's got all that information?
Website's got all that information, and you can even see some openings. So if you want to be more than a sub and you would like a position in the district, there are opportunities.
Anything else we missed?
Well, that was a pretty good list, Dave. So I just want to say I appreciate you being back, and glad that you're healthy.
Well, I appreciate that. Thanks, Gary. Gary DeLacy, Clinton School Superintendent, with us today on FYI.
You're listening to AM 1340 KROS, Clinton, Iowa.
FM 105.